finally, the family battle is over. 5 years ago, to be precise, in 2018, a pastor who I called self-acclaimed pastor came into my family, rear my father, rear with the prophecy. And that prophecy brought division in that family until recently that it was imperative for me to travel for peace. And as I went home, that peace was gone and the family became one. The mistake that the pastor did was to come to my house because the family members and the kinsmen gathered and called me. I was at home then. Why did my father vacate the house that he lives in? That is his house being my house. It was because of the message the pastor gave him that Namo Bonyo Bweko. So my father should leave that house or else me worry about worries. Then my father and my family members excommunicated me for 5 years. Now when my father was sick, my father ran to the church of that pastor and lived there, abandoned his house. And he is opera in my family, or kindred, he is opera. And he is supposed to be attending to other kinsmen, but he was nowhere to be found. For many years, he lived in that church, leaving his house, abandoning his house. Now when he was sick, he was brought home. He was brought home. And when the kinsmen gathered and assembled, they called me. Why did my father abandon his house? I said, I don't know. My father opened his mouth and said all manner of things that I belong to a place that he don't know. I want to use all of them as exchange, according to message. Then I told them my own side of the story, and I stood in front of the kinsmen and said, if what the prophet told my father is true, let God be the judge, and let me live and let them stay. And if that prophecy was false, I will see the end of that prophet. I told the kinsmen and I left. Then when my father was sick, that house that the prophet told my father not to stay, not to enter, that was where my father was brought when he was sick. And that pastor came. After 5 years, this thing happened December last year, November. He came to see my father, and he was told that my father is in his house, in the house I built, my house. And the pastor forgot his prophecy. And he went to see my father. And the wife went to see my father. Before then, I even sent message to the pastor through the kinsman, and that pastor should just step his feet in my house because he has disorganized my house, causing division. Now, when he came and saw my father, he left. The spirits are working now. Immediately he left, 2 weeks he left. He met his water, he died. And he died mysteriously in a motorcycle accident. That was when my father and others in my family decided to call on me. Now, my father called me and said, when are you coming home? That was in December. I told my father, this is not Lagos to live. Before I come home, it will be properly planned. He said, please, my son, go home. If you don't go home, something seriously bad will happen. I said, it's not 1 naira. It's a matter of hundreds of thousands. Then I kept mute. In May this year, he continued calling with my brother's phone that he needed to see me, and it became imperative that I must go. And I went to borrow him to go. And when I went home, I went to borrow him to make sure that I see him. When I went home, I saw him critically ill. Critically ill. He could not stand. Before he defeated, somebody will assist him. Now, immediately he saw me, he was happy. And he said, this is what I will do. I went immediately, I provided everything needed to perform a sacrifice of peace. And he placed his hand on them in the presence of all the family members. And he said, it is well with you, my son. Go and cook this food, kill this fowl. I want to eat it now. And immediately that food was prepared. My father that refused to take something from me for 5 minutes said that I should feed him with my hand. I fed my father. And he gave his hand on my father. Go well with this. Well with you, go in peace. You are blessed. So all the family members that has communicated me, all of them that are connected together, and the people